When you use the insert layer method with the ArcGIS API for Python, it can often look like that layer has not been inserted. But there is a way to fix it. Let's check it out. I have this feature service in ArcGIS Online that I published from ArcGIS Pro. It contains one layer, and that is the county boundaries of Ireland from Táilteann Éireann. If I click into the data tab, we have the data for the single layer, and also into the visualization tab, where we can see the single county boundaries of Ireland layer. I'm going to use the ArcGIS API for Python to add a second feature layer to this feature service. So I'm going to head over to a Python script. Up top, I am importing the GIS class so we can access ArcGIS Online, and also the FeatureLayerCollection class so I can create a FeatureLayerCollection object that represents the feature service. First, access ArcGIS Online using the GIS class and supplying in the home string. We'll assign the GIS object to a variable called AGOL. We're going to use our GIS object and use the content manager get method supplying in the feature service item ID, which I'm going to paste in now. This feature service item ID is the item ID from the county boundaries feature service we saw in ArcGIS Online. The get method will return an item object that will assign to a variable called item. We're then going to take our item object and create a feature layer collection object from our item and assign the feature layer collection object to a variable called FLC. Now I'm going to use the insert layer from the feature layer collection manager to add a new layer from a file geodatabase to the current feature service. I have a zip folder that contains a file geodatabase that has one feature class in there. It is a landmask of Ireland. It has the main landmask of Ireland and all the islands. I'll assign the path to the zipped file geodatabase to a variable called gdb path. I'm then going to use the feature layer collection and the manager property, which is a feature layer collection manager, and I can use the insert layer method. This insert layer method has a data path parameter that was set to our gdb path. I would like to name it Ireland landmask, but this parameter does not seem to be honored. I'll assign the calling of the insert layer method to a variable called status, and we'll print status to screen. The insert layer method should actually return the item object of the feature service that we just updated. So I'll run the script. The script is complete, and we were indeed returned the item object of our county boundaries of Ireland feature service. I'm going to comment out the insert layer code snippet, and we're going to check for the addition of the new feature layer to the feature service. So here I'm going to print feature layer collection object layers property, which is a list of feature layer objects. I'm going to print them on separate lines. I'll run the script. And we can see there are two feature layer objects in our feature service. The one here at 0 should be the initial county boundaries feature layer that was present, and we should have added the landmask. I'm going to head back over to ArcGIS Online. I'm going to go back to the overview tab, and I'm going to refresh the page. We can see that the county boundaries is the single layer here. We would expect that the second layer for the landmask would appear underneath the county boundaries, but it does not. So even though our code shows that the second feature layer has been added, we cannot see it in ArcGIS Online. If I click into the data tab, we still have the single layer, and into visualization we cannot see the extra feature layer that was added. We only have the county boundaries of Ireland single layer showing. I'm going to go to ArcGIS Online Assistant, have the tab open here, and I want to view an item's JSON. I'll go to our county boundaries of Ireland feature service. If I scroll down to this data section where it has layers, we can see there's only a layer with an ID of 0 in there. That is our county boundaries feature layer that was in the original feature service. If I scroll down, I'd expect to see a second layer in there with an ID of 1, but it is not in there, and we need to update this item JSON data section with the second feature layer. I'm going to go back to our Python script. and I'll comment out where we check the layer, and we're going to fix the newly created or added layer. I have Fox layer there, that should be fix. Okay, so a little bit to get through here. We're first going to create a layer dictionary. This is what we saw in ArcGIS Online Assistant. We have the ID, blend mode, the layer definition will contain your renderer, which is your symbology, any labels or any filters set on the feature layer. We set disable pop-up to false, and then we will populate the pop-up info. We are interested in the newly added feature layer, which sits at index 1. So we'll grab the feature layer object from the FeatureLayerCollection layers property. We update the ID key in our layer dictionary with the feature layer object ID property. And then we grab the feature layer properties drawing info property and set it as the drawing info property for the layer definition property. So far we've populated the ID and the layer definition. Now we're going to take a look at the pop-up info. We only need to add one pop-up info, and we're going to update the field element. We create a field infos list, and this list will contain the field infos definition for our pop-up. For each field in our feature layer, we convert the field JSON definition to a dictionary. And then we create a field dictionary where we have a field name that we set to the name of the field. Is editable, we get from the editable property for the field. We set the label to the field alias, and we set visibility to true. We then apply the field infos to the field element. So from our layer dictionary, we're accessing the pop-up info, which we can see up here. The pop-up info and then the pop-up elements. And we're accessing the first pop-up element and updating the field infos to be our field infos list. We then get the current item JSON data that we saw in ArcGIS Online Assistant. We get that by calling the getData method for the item object, and we'll assign the dictionary returned to a variable called item data. We're then going to add our updated layer dictionary to the current layers list. So we're accessing the item data layers property, and we're going to set it to be the current layers property, which is a list of dictionaries. There's currently one dictionary in there, and we're going to add a second that represents the feature layer that we added. Then create an update dictionary where we set the text key to have a value of the updated item data. We then call the update method on the item object, supplying in our update dictionary as the item properties parameter, and we'll assign the calling of the update dictionary to a variable called status and print status to screen. So I'll run this script. Our script is complete. Let's head back over to ArcGIS Online. I'll go back to the overview tab. You can see we still have our single county boundaries feature layer. I'm going to refresh this page. And we can now see that the second feature layer is displaying. I go into the data tab. We can now access the second feature layer. And the same when I go to visualization, we should see that both feature layers are displaying. So we have our county boundaries and our Ireland landmask. If I click into layers, I can turn on and off and see both layers. If I go from here back into ArcGIS Online Assistant and I do a refresh and I go back to the county boundaries feature service, scroll down, we have our data section, we have our layers, we have our ID of 0, and we should also have our new ID of 1 that represents the newly added feature layer. And we can see the definition that we set in our script. So there you have it. If you run into a problem where you've used the insert layer method and you cannot see your layer in ArcGIS Online, you can use what we just saw in this video here. Make sure to check out more of the ArcGIS API for Python workflows up here and be sure to subscribe. Take care.